Echoes of the Nexus, Episode 5. Lumina led Zephyr through the bustling confluence, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease. Zephyr followed closely, his eyes darting around as he took in the sights and sounds of the alien city. The confluence was a hub of activity, with beings of all shapes and sizes going about their business. They finally arrived at a large, imposing building. Its architecture was unlike anything Zephyr had seen before, with towering spires and intricate carvings that seemed to glow with an inner light. "This is the training center," Lumina said, turning to face Zephyr. "This is where we'll prepare you for the games." Zephyr swallowed hard, his heart pounding in his chest. "And what exactly does this training involve?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lumina gave him a small smile. "You'll see," she said cryptically, pushing open the large doors of the training center. As they stepped inside, Zephyr was taken aback by the sight that greeted him. The interior of the training center was a stark contrast to the bustling city outside. It was a vast, open space, filled with strange equipment and training apparatus. Beings of various species were engaged in different forms of training, their bodies moving with a grace and precision that spoke of years of practice. There were areas dedicated to physical training, with beings lifting heavy weights or engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Other areas were filled with holographic screens and advanced technology, where beings were seemingly training their minds. The air was filled with the sounds of grunts of exertion, the hum of machinery, and the occasional cheer of encouragement. Lumina led Zephyr through the training center, nodding at a few familiar faces as they passed. They finally stopped at a quieter corner of the center, away from the noise and activity. "This is where we'll begin your training," Lumina said, turning to face Zephyr. "But first there's something you need to know, something about you, and about the Vitalis within you." She reached out, placing her hand on Zephyr's chest. He felt a strange warmth spreading through him, a sensation that was both comforting and unsettling. "Close your eyes, Zephyr," Lumina instructed, "and let me show you the power that lies within you." Zephyr closed his eyes, his heart pounding in his chest. He felt Lumina's hand on his chest, a warm, comforting presence. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing thoughts, and then he felt it, a sensation, like a spark igniting within him. It was a warmth that spread from his chest, coursing through his veins, reaching every part of his body. It was a feeling of power, of energy, of life. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before. Images flashed before his mind's eye, vivid and intense. He saw himself as a child, small and vulnerable, being pushed around by bigger kids. He felt the sting of their words, the hurt of their actions. He saw his mother, her face lined with worry and love. He felt her arms around him, her comforting presence. He saw her on her deathbed, her life slowly slipping away. He felt the pain of her loss, the emptiness that had filled him. A tear rolled down his cheek, the memory still fresh, still painful. Then there was a stillness, a silence that seemed to stretch on forever. It was a moment of peace, of calm, a respite from the storm of emotions that had swept over him. Then he saw a figure, a small, musical creature, its form glowing with a soft light. It was the same creature he had seen before, the one that had protected him. It was standing by his side, its presence comforting, reassuring. Zephyr opened his eyes, the images fading away. He looked at Lumina, a sense of awe and wonder filling him. What was that?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "That, Zephyr," Lumina said, her eyes glowing with a strange light, "was your Vitalis, the power that lies within you, the power that you will need to harness, to control, if you are to survive the games." Zephyr looked at his hands, flexing them as he considered Lumina's words. "So what? Does this give me superhuman strength or something?" he asked, a hint of skepticism in his voice. Lumina simply smiled, her eyes twinkling with a mischievous light. "You tell me," she replied, and before Zephyr could react, she moved. It happened in a blink of an eye. One moment Lumina was standing a few feet away, the next she was right in front of him, her fists swinging towards his face. Zephyr barely had time to raise his arms in defense, the blow landing on his forearms with a force that sent him stumbling back. He blinked in surprise, looking at Lumina with wide eyes. She was back in her original position, as if she hadn't moved at all. But the sting on his arms told a different story. "That was fast, Zephyr managed to say, rubbing his arms. Lumina's smile widened. That's just the beginning, Zephyr. Vitalis isn't just about strength. It's about speed, agility, endurance. It's about harnessing the energy within you and using it to your advantage. Zephyr swallowed, looking at his hands again. He could feel it, the Vitalis, like a pulsing energy within him. He could feel its potential, its power. And for the first time, he began to understand what he was truly capable of. Now let's see what you can do, Lumina said, getting into a fighting stance. Don't hold back, Zephyr. Show me the power of your Vitalis. Zephyr took a deep breath, feeling the Vitalis surge within him. He looked at Lumina, eyes wide with apprehension. You want me to attack you?" he stuttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "But I don't think—" But before he could finish, Lumina lunged at him, her movements swift and precise. Zephyr barely had time to react, stepping back just in time to avoid her punch. He wanted to counterattack, but still apprehensive to do so. "Come on, Zephyr," Lumina called out, her voice echoing in the vast training room. "Fight back." Zephyr hesitated, his mind racing. He wasn't a fighter. He was a pilot. But he knew he didn't have a choice. He had to fight. He had to survive. With a determined look on his face, Zephyr charged at Lumina. He swung a punch at her, but she easily sidestepped, her movements fluid and graceful. He tried again, this time aiming a kick at her, but she blocked it effortlessly, pushing him back with a force that made him stumble. He gritted his teeth, frustration bubbling within him. He was fast, he was strong, but Lumina was always one step ahead. It was like she could predict his every move. "Focus, Zephyr," Lumina called out, her voice calm despite the intensity of their spar. "Don't just rely on your physical strength. Use your Vitalis. Feel it. Harness it." Zephyr took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment. He could feel it, the Vitalis within him, a pulsing energy that seemed to resonate with his heartbeat. He focused on it, feeling it surge within him, filling him with a strength he had never felt before. He opened his eyes, a newfound determination burning in them. He charged at Lumina again, this time moving with a speed and agility he didn't know he possessed. He swung a punch at her, and this time she barely managed to block it in time. A look of surprise crossed Lumina's face, but it quickly turned into a smile. "That's it, Zephyr," she exclaimed, blocking another one of his attacks. "You're getting the hang of it." Despite the intensity of their spar, Zephyr couldn't help but smile. He was getting the hang of it. He was learning to harness his Vitalis. The spar continued, with Zephyr slowly but surely improving with each passing moment. He was far from being on par with Lumina, but he was making progress, and that was enough for him. As the spar came to an end, Zephyr was panting heavily, sweat dripping down his face. But there was a smile on his face, a smile of satisfaction and accomplishment. "You did well, Zephyr," Lumina said, her voice filled with pride. "You're a quick learner." Zephyr nodded, too out of breath to respond. He looked at his hands, feeling the residual energy of his Vitalis pulsing within him. He had a long way to go, but he was ready to face whatever challenges the games would throw at him. Lumina stepped back, her eyes never leaving Zephyr. "There's one more thing you need to know about Vitalis, Zephyr," she said, her voice serious. "It's not just an internal force. It can be harnessed and projected into the physical world." Zephyr blinked, confusion written all over his face. "Projected? You mean like a weapon?" "In a way, yes," Lumina nodded. She extended her hand, palm facing upwards. A soft glow began to emanate from her hand, growing brighter and brighter until it took a solid form. In her hand, a sword made entirely of Vitalis materialized, its blade shimmering with an ethereal light. "This," she said, holding up the sword, "is a manifestation of my Vitalis. You can do this too, Zephyr. You can shape your Vitalis into whatever form you need. A shield to protect, a sword to attack, or even a wall to block your enemies." Zephyr stared at the sword, his eyes wide with awe. The idea of creating something tangible out of his Vitalis was both exciting and terrifying. He looked at Lumina, a new sense of determination in his eyes. "Show me," he said, ready to learn this new aspect of his power. Lumina's expression turned serious as she dispelled the Vitalis sword, the light fading back into her palm. "But remember, Zephyr," she warned, her gaze intense. "Using Vitalis in this way is not without its risks. It's a part of your life force. Use too much, and you could drain yourself completely." Zephyr swallowed hard, the weight of her words sinking in. You mean I could die? Lumina nodded solemnly. Yes. That's why it's crucial to learn control, to know when to use your vitalis and when to conserve it. It's a delicate balance, one that could mean the difference between life and death. Zephyr felt a chill run down his spine. This was a lot to take in. The power within him was both a gift and a potential curse. But he knew he had to learn, to adapt. He had no other choice. I understand, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'll be careful. Lumina gave him a small, reassuring smile. Good. Now let's continue with your training. Zephyr's eyes widened, a spark of excitement lighting up his features. Really? I can do that? He asked, his voice filled with anticipation. The idea of being able to manifest his vitalis into physical form was fascinating, and he was eager to learn. Lumina nodded, her eyes twinkling with amusement at his enthusiasm. Yes, Zephyr, you can. But remember, it's not as easy as it sounds. It requires focus, control, and a clear image of what you want to create. And most importantly, you must be careful. Using too much vitalis can be dangerous. Zephyr swallowed, the gravity of her words sinking in. But the thrill of learning something new, of gaining a new skill, outweighed the fear. He nodded, determination setting in. I understand, I'm ready to learn. All right, Zephyr, it's your turn, Lumina said, her gaze steady on him. Remember, it's not about force, it's about focus. You need to concentrate, to connect with your vitalis. Zephyr nodded, taking a deep breath as he extended his hand, palm facing upwards. He closed his eyes, trying to clear his mind, to focus on the energy within him. He could feel it, a warm, pulsating force like a heartbeat. Now imagine that energy taking form, Lumina instructed. Visualize it in your mind. What do you see? Zephyr concentrated, his brow furrowing in concentration. He could see it, a small orb just like Lumina's. He focused on it, on its shape, its glow, its energy. Now bring it forth, Lumina said, her voice a soft whisper in his ear. Let your vitalis take form. Zephyr took a deep breath, and with a burst of concentration he opened his eyes. Above his palm, a small orb of light appeared, flickering and pulsating, just like he had imagined. He looked at Lumina, a wide grin spreading across his face. I did it, he said, his voice filled with awe and excitement. I actually did it. Lumina nodded, a small smile on her face. Yes, you did, she said. And remember, Zephyr, this is just the beginning. Hey there, fellow star travelers. If you've been captivated by this cosmic journey, crafted by the power of AI, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more interstellar adventures. But wait, there's more. You, yes, you, have the power to shape the course of our story. Drop a comment below on how you think our saga should unfold. Should we encounter alien civilizations, uncover ancient cosmic mysteries, or maybe take a detour through a wormhole? The universe is your playground. Our AI will analyze your suggestions, seeking out the most intriguing twists and turns for our tale. And remember, comments with the most likes have a higher chance of steering our story, so make your ideas shine. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comment to join us on this incredible journey. Together, we'll chart a course through the stars, one comment at a time. Until our next journey, stay curious and keep exploring.